Well, good afternoon, folks, and welcome back to the farm. As you might know, we had a few days away. Yes, we loaded up the camping trailer. We went off to Saskatoon Lake, and that was a blessing and a curse. It was a blessing because, well, you get away for a few days. It was a curse because, well, it started raining when you're trying to take a few days away, but we also can't complain because it hadn't rained here in a month, and we were desperate, absolutely desperate for rain. And the ground right now is like a dry sponge, just sucking that moisture up. The challenge we have today, because it's not raining right now, it's drizzling. It's a very, very mild, misty drizzle. Is that in this trailer is 120 square hay bales. That's half of our winter feed that we're supposed to get out of this trailer so I can get it back to the father-in-law out at Rio Grande. We're supposed to get it out of here and onto this hay wagon here so we can get it tarped up. So probably not the easiest, or I shouldn't say the easiest, it's not the most desirable conditions to try and move hay bales around, and because it's like 98% humidity outside right now, it's usually not a good time to move. But looking at the weather forecast, they say around 4 o'clock we're supposed to drop to 40% chance of precipitation. We're hoping we're in the 60% that's not going to get anything, and we'll get this trailer unloaded and onto the other one so we can take this thing back. Now, as I said, this is about half of what we need for the sheep. So the sheep are, they're going to eat about 3% of their body weight per day. So with total, we're going to feed probably 1 1/4 of these bales every single day. And we just weren't able to secure round hay bales locally. We could have gone further afield. We could have gone out to Fort St. John. We could have gone as far as High Prairie, a Little Smoky, which is it's a couple hours. And usually a couple hours, maybe not a big deal, but the folks out there want $100 or more for not even a good round bale, not even a good 1,600 pound round bale. We're talking under 1,500 pounds, and that gets really, really hard to justify. Anyways, while I'm waiting for the 4 o'clock hour to roll around, I did just do some cleaning up in the shop. Tuesday's coming fast, but holy man, that is chicken butchering day. And so we have 60 meat birds left to butcher, some roosters, some hens, and it's all going to happen here in front of the shop. So just kind of getting that area prepped. And let me tell you, when you start homesteading, you think the people that you can depend on. Well, when you live in town, there's always the people you can depend on to help you move a couch or help you move a TV or something like that, with the bribery of I'll give you pizza and beer kind of thing. When you get out into this environment, you're dealing with a whole different class of people, because now you're saying, well, I need somebody to come help me kill and butcher 60 chickens and as payment I'm going to give you a certain percentage of those chickens that we just killed and butchered. And let me tell you, that's not everybody's cup of tea by any means. Anyways, if you're lucky enough to find somebody as crazy as you to come out to chicken butchering day, you're gonna need to have your ducks in a row or your chickens in a row, however that works. And that means getting all your equipment ready so that there's no delay, because you don't want to waste other people's time. So we are very fortunate. We have the use of the father-in-law's chicken plucker here. Now this thing is, I would say, multi-generational. I think this thing has seen I think this belonged to his parents, actually. So it's got some miles on it. It's got some feathers on it for sure. And I'm just down here doing some work on the motor. So if you look at this cable, it's frayed in quite a few spots. And if you look at the cord end, it's, really good electrical safety, right? So when you are butchering chickens, you get between birds, you've got to unplug this thing, and there's that arc that comes off the live plug there. So that's a little bit dicey, especially when you're already spraying some water around. We're probably looking at a rainy day. Nobody wants to get a special hairdo on chicken butchering day. So we're just going to do some work to that. We're going to replace this cord entirely. So I've just taken the access panel off the side of the motor here and just going to pull these morettes off, run a new section of wire. And then over on this side, we're here, I'm going to be wiring in a on-off switch so that there's no removal of the plug. It's just a matter of on, off as necessary. Make it much safer, much more convenient, And I mean, you got to embrace technology, right? The old stuff works, and this thing's bulletproof. It's going to run forever. But it's all the little pieces that go with it that can make this so much better. That can make chicken butchering day so much better. So believe me when I say it's the small things. This little extension cord, I found that last winter laying out in the middle of the road. Somebody's block heater cord. Actually, they drove away with it, ran it over, drug it down the road, and I recovered it and patched it up in a couple of spots. But I was like, well, it's not really the best extension cord. And generally when you need an extension cord for a block heater, it's usually some pretty adverse elements. So I was like, well, you know, it's been sitting off in the corner of their shop. This is the perfect one to just use for this, because it's only when it's fixed, the weather's usually fairly nice, and it doesn't have to do a lot of bending or flexing or anything like that. So worked really good. Got it rewired into the old motor, put a switch on the side, boom, 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 boom. I'll get a faceplate for it later. And then just a couple of screws just to give it a nice place to wind the cord up nice and neat. And we're ready to pluck some chickens. All right, so you know how I was mentioned earlier about those special kind of people that help you with those special kind of jobs that you really just can't find? Well, believe it or not, I had one such special person help me out today. My brother-in-law Scott came by and he helped me unload all the bales out of this cattle trailer. And we got them onto the Haywagon and all tarped in and secure. So that's a weight off my shoulders. Unfortunately, disaster struck. So we get halfway through. Well, no, we get a little bit more than halfway through. Anyways, we got bales on the trailer, and Carmen says, "What's happening underneath? There's a weld cracked under there." And I'm like, "Oh, it's always been cracked. It's no big deal." I was thinking about a completely different weld. We got down from the trailer and found out this support beam right here actually was hanging down on the ground. So I had to bring the trolley jack under here and jack this back up and put these railroad ties under here on both sides essentially, because this completely, as you can tell, completely broke off. And there's literally nothing holding the hitch on to this trailer at all. Kind of scary, really, because we were talking about going to Baytree to get some bales. Baytree's a long way from here, and we wouldn't have made it to Dawson Creek. We definitely wouldn't have made it Gordondale. So no matter which way we would have come, we would have had just a trailer dragging and round bales in the ditch. It would have been a disaster. So thankfully it happened right here in the yard. The bad news is that, I mean, on top of having to do a major repair to the trailer, is this is not where I want the bales. I want them way over there by the sheep pen. We just put them here because it was just a convenient spot out of the way to work for the day. Anyways, nobody got hurt. It's all secure. It's all tarped in. It's fine. We'll just breathe through it. It's fine. All right, so if you find yourself like us, here we are in a bit of a drought, limited feed supplies locally, not able to secure a full year supply of good quality hay, and so we're having to think outside the box for alternative feed supplies. And one of the things we're looking at is either barley straw or pea straw. And when do you feed each one of those two versus your actual hay? And so this one common mistake that people make is that they'll feed the hay first, and then late season they'll feed the straw, and then they'll be supplementing, protein, they'll be supplementing with molasses, they'll be supplementing with mineral blocks. Well, honestly, you're better off to use the straw and all the supplements first, and then feed your good quality hay late gestation period, because you want your best quality feed to go into your ewes as they're coming through late portion of their pregnancy through to birth, and then getting into lactation. They're not going to want to be feeding them straw when they're trying to support twins, because that's how you get twin lamb disease. Now, when you do get into late season and you are onto your hay, you're still going to want to supplement with things like molasses and mineral and all that stuff. Chickens are making noises back there. But yeah, don't make that common mistake and then feed all your crappy stuff right at the end, because you're going to take, not only will you take higher mortality rates, you'll take a lot of losses on your lambs, but the lambs will just not do as well in general. Your ewes won't do as well. And then when you get them out to spring grass, there's a really good chance you might lose some because they'll get grass staggers, pulpy kidney, things like that. So one last job for the night here, because it's butchering day here on Tuesday. We've got this netting up here and they've got the free range of this whole big area. It's time to tighten the wire. So we're gonna actually take this netting, and there's 2 full lengths up against the existing fence, and we're gonna cinch that up. So it's just one section of netting in one square, one circle, octagon, whatever it works out to be, but just tighten it up a little bit around that chicken tractor over there, so that when it comes butchering day on Tuesday, they'll be that much easier to round up without having to chase them all over hell's half acre here. Okay, so Carmen actually come out and give me a hand to tighten this fence up here, because the chickens were just everywhere and it was really, really hard to herd them around. But yeah, we got the wire tightened up. It's kind of like this weird trapeze shape now, but that's fine. It's much, much easier to get in and catch them where they're at than what it was before. Now, this fencing, I fully intend to move back to where it was previously after the chickens have gone, and let the rams out into this piece right here so that they can graze. I mean, we're talking about nook and cranny farming right here, right? So this is a piece of grass that otherwise we would just have to mow it and manage it. Well, if I can just get the rams to do it, especially on a year like this where we're really limited on grass, it just makes sense, right? Now, there's an energizer down there and a ground rod, and I don't really want to feel like fishing that ground rod out right now. So I just grabbed the other energizer and the other ground rod that wasn't put in the ground and got it set up here. And we're gonna make this spicy meatballs, and hopefully the chickens haven't forgotten, because the wires have got tighter. Hopefully they haven't forgotten that this wire means this is where the boundary is, and we'll be triple happy teddy bears for the rest of the evening. So the other thing we're doing, because we're down to the wire here, last couple days before we're butchering, is we're restricting feed for these girls and boys. So they have a little bit today, and tomorrow all they're gonna have is just to graze, the remaining grass that's here. And then they'll have an empty crop for butchering day on Tuesday, and they'll just make it a lot cleaner and a lot less stress on the bird, and it'll overall be a far better, more successful evening. Anyways, on that note, I think it's time I did some grazing. I better go in and see about a cup of tea and maybe a touch of rice pudding. So I'll let you go for now. I hope you have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.